As a jurist with more than 30 years of courtroom experience, time spent on both sides of the bench, both as a trial attorney and judge, the Honorable Judge Frank E. LeMoine celebrates a long and satisfying career in law. Judge LeMoine has a diverse vocational background, and becoming a lawyer did not play out in the typical manner for him. While high school, a 4-year undergraduate degree, and 3 years of graduate work in law school for a Juris Doctorate often occur in continuous succession, for Judge LeMoine, his life from high school graduation to law school graduation was more of an odyssey, spanning 15 years. From a young age, he wanted to go to college and study law, and early on he was encouraged by his parents to do so. But by high school graduation, there were many circumstances that placed a college education beyond his reach. He had no opportunities for scholarships, and his family didn't have the means to afford a college education. His father passed away when he was young, his mother had become ill, and there were 3 younger siblings. So he graduated, went to work, got married, and started a family. By age 19, he had had a son, and by day he worked as a common laborer and attended technical school at night, where he learned to weld. By 21, he had earned welding certifications from and performed welding of high-pressure pipe systems for several of the major oil companies, and he and his wife welcomed their second child. In 1977, at age 23, just as the family's financial state was showing signs of improvement, he suffered a disabling back injury which required major corrective surgery and a lengthy convalescence. He was left with a permanent disability, rendering him unable to perform his job. This also meant that he would not only need to undergo physical rehabilitation to recover from his injury, but also vocational rehabilitation to ameliorate the economic impact to him and his family. As a result, with vocational rehabilitation assistance of state and federal agencies, he decided to seek a law degree, first enrolling in undergraduate school in 1979, graduating in 1983 from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, first in his class with a Bachelor's of Science degree, summa cum laude, in industrial technology. Then, later that year, he was accepted and entered a 3-year graduate program in law. In 1986, after graduating from Southern University Law Center in the top 10 of his class with a Juris Doctorate cum laude and successfully sitting for the Louisiana State Bar Association, Judge LeMoine was admitted to the bar and sworn into the practice of law before the state courts of Louisiana October 10, 1986, before the Louisiana State Supreme Court Justice Luther Cole. Without delay, he went into private practice in the city of Abbeville, Louisiana. In addition to admission to practice before the state courts of Louisiana, he was also admitted to practice before the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Louisiana and the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit in 1990. In 2002, he was elected by the voters of Ward 9 to serve a term of 6 years beginning January 1, 2003, as municipal judge for the 9th Ward, Kaplan, Vermilion Parish, Louisiana. In 2008, he was unopposed and retained for an additional 6-year term by acclamation. Judge LeMoine held that position until he retired from the bench effective January 1, 2015. During his tenure, Judge LeMoine exercised authority in criminal matters to issue warrants to search, seize, and arrest, make determinations of probable cause for warrantless arrests, conduct hearings for bail, initial presentments, termination of probation, as well as conduct trials of criminal cases where the maximum possible sentence did not exceed 6 months in jail or a $1,000 fine. In juvenile matters, he exercised authority to conduct all proceedings in delinquency issues, including felony-grade delinquency offenses, except in those cases where the juvenile had been deemed an adult, conduct all proceedings in child in need of care and families in need of services, and conduct all proceedings in civil matters where the amount controversy did not exceed $35,000. Judge LeMoine has been affiliated with a number of legal organizations and bar associations throughout his career, including the American Bar Association, the Louisiana State Bar Association, the Vermilion Parish Bar Association, American Inns of Court, and Phi Alpha Delta. He was recognized for his academic excellence by the honor societies of Phi Kappa Phi, Phi Eta Sigma, and Kappa Delta Pi. Reflecting back on his legal career, Judge LeMoine is proud of being a caring professional who took the extra time both to listen and explain, even when not required or necessary. As a judge, he states, "Inasmuch as we are to avoid emotional involvement in cases before the court, and I did, I often found it most difficult when it involved abuse or neglect to one least able to defend or provide for themselves, and most particularly an innocent child." He always tried to explain to those concerned his reasons for ruling, whether required or not, to keep the legal process as transparent as possible. In each of his cases, he truly cared about the community and the people, and he would always carefully consider every judgment he made and, to the relevant extent, its potential impact on the community. When he was asked about his advice to the next generation, Judge LeMoine replied that it was not the next generation that concerned him as much as the current generation. It is the current generation, the one presently in power and making decisions that are directly impacting future generations, to whom he would like to speak. He is particularly concerned regarding the decision to either cut high school civics from the curriculum or change it from a required course to an elective one. In his view, it is imprudent to expect citizens to conscientiously protect a form of government and the rights and freedoms it secures if they, who are charged ultimately with its protection and proper administration, have little, if any, understanding of their government's fundamental and founding principles, or their rights and obligations thereunder. The mentor who motivated and inspired Judge LeMoine was a lawyer and friend who encouraged him to go to law school, hired him in the summer and between semesters as a clerk, and then hired him right out of law school. He had a great deal in common with Judge LeMoine as a fellow small-town boy, and Judge LeMoine loved and had great respect for him. After his friend and colleague's passing, Judge LeMoine felt honored that he was asked to deliver his eulogy to the bench and bar. In addition, Judge LeMoine was inspired by his father, Frank Lucian LeMoine, who, despite his passing when the judge was yet a boy, taught him more about his obligations as a father and husband than anyone ever knew. Judge LeMoine feels that among all who have influenced him, no one had greater impact on who he became as a man, father, and husband than his father. And if he could have one wish granted, it would be to spend one day, man to man, with him. Now that he's retired, Judge LeMoine spends his free time primarily pursuing his hobbies of hunting North American big game, fishing for largemouth bass with his son, long-range precision shooting, and hand-loading the metallic cartridges necessary to excel in this shooting discipline. He also enjoys spending time with his growing family, his 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren, with a third on the way. He is proud of his 2 grandsons, each of whom are very near completion of their bachelor's degrees, and his granddaughter, a high school freshman, who has been maintaining a straight-A average. Judge LeMoine also feels it is important to mention that in life, the first and sometimes only person one must convince that a particularly worthwhile goal is attainable is oneself.